powerful people, celebrities, and public figures accountable?
All right. Like I said before, I do not believe in cancel culture. However, I believe in accountability. I do think that people should be held responsible for their actions and the things that they say. But we also need to understand that we need to give grace to people at some point. Let me tell you a story. There is someone, I was talking to a friend, and he was telling me of someone in, I think in the United States, goes for you, finds where you stay, find where you work, make sure you are sacked. Sometimes when you get sacked, make sure that your life is so destabilized that your family breaks. Sometimes, there was this guy that he did it to one time, and the guy had to get deported. Not that he lost his job, he lost his family, lost his citizenship, so was demoted back to his country. And all he said was a comment in passing that might have been based on what the person did to him that he just reacted to. We need to understand that humans are humans, and sometimes people make mistakes. People make statements out of anger. And I do not think that to the degree that people make some statement out of anger, their life should be now be based on that alone. People's precedents, people's what they've done before should be brought into account when we're dealing with certain things. And I do think that that's how we should live. I also do think that our lives as people, think about this. Let me paint you a scenario. We all know of the Anthony Fauci sit down with the Senate very recently. Those are the persons that I think cancel culture should be for. Because I personally think, in my opinion, I do think that what had happened to Anthony Fauci was just a public show. They were just giving us a public show because nothing has been done so far. And I keep asking a question. I said, why is it that a country gives a guy a pardon and no other country in the world can pick the guy up? Why? That guy has done damage beyond, I mean, it's crystal clear. Why are you not canceling that person?
Yeah. So in that context,
yeah,
in the context of Anthony Fauci, you would say, okay, there can be cancel culture for that.
Then what's cancel culture? If it applies to one, does not apply to the rest, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about? Okay, interesting. Now, at what point does public criticism cross the line and become online bullying? You know, because we know that, yes, there is a cancel culture.
Yeah.
And some would say, yeah, it is out there to hold people accountable. You just spoke of Anthony Fauci right now. You know, it is on there so that we would know when to, you know, move the bad eggs, remove the bad eggs, learn to not support the bad eggs and focus on the good things. Yeah, but at what point does this cross the line and turn to online bullying? You spoke about somebody, you know, that goes against any racist.
Yeah.
And then he gets them to the point where he breaks down, even down to their family.
Yeah.
Now, has that crossed the line? Has that crossed the line from just cancel culture to online bullying and harassment?
All right. I will answer your question this way. That's a very exciting one. I'll say this. I do think that, now let me say this. I do think that there are times and there are stages in life where you tell people, don't buy from this person. Don't deal with this person because of their precedents. For an example, there are companies I would never buy from because of what their ideology is about. I mean, a company that the CEO could come out and say that water should be state-owned. It's not an human rights privilege. Those kind of companies, I do not think that they have anything to do with human life. They should be brought down. That's what I think, right? But my opinion does not mean that the life of the CEO should get wrecked. My opinion does not mean that the family of the CEO should be broken. No. They have an ideology that I do not think is best for the world. The best we can do is raise an alarm about it, make sure that they are not in position of power to make those ideologies come into play. However, let me say this. There are times, I have a story to tell. There was one of the recent things that happened between two Nigerian artists, and they were bantering, rap, and all of those things, secular artists. And one of the interviews that one of them got done very recently was saying on how that the other artist went as far as picking a guy that the other artist thought was his own burner.
Yeah.
Picked the guy up. When he picked the guy up, the police picked the guy up and they locked the guy up.
Yeah.
And they were threatening the sister of the guy that they picked up to reach out to the other artist
Yeah.
It
becomes online bullying.
It's not just
It's not even online.
Online anyway. It
Harassment. Total harassment.
It's insane.
It becomes harassment completely.
People can go as far as that. So can people do that? People are doing it. But is it right? Of course not. So we need to draw a line. If I want to hold you accountable, I need to hear you.
Yeah.
I need to have the ability to sit on a table with you. Tell me what you think. I do not agree with what you're saying, but I want to hear you. Yeah, I want to understand you. I've heard from this. Before I judge, let me hear from this.
Let me hear from the other person.
That's being accountable. That's you being fair. But when you go about where you pay 1,000 persons, pay 500 persons to go against a particular account to say, report this account, you're not being fair anymore.
Right now, you start bullying, and that's harassment.
I think it's beyond just harassment. You're coming against somebody else's life. And sometimes we also need to understand is that when you go against people's life, their first instinct is to preserve their life. And in doing that, people can do also crazy things in trying to reply back to whatever you're doing to them. Yeah. Then it gets really bad.
And then it becomes very messy.
Yeah, messy, yeah.
Interesting. This conversation is a very, very interesting one. It is cancel culture, accountability, or online bullying. And we're having a very, very interesting conversation with Marvel Okpeyemi here in the studio. All right, we'll go on a very, very quick break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation, and also we'll have Austin King joining us. We'll be right back.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
Your brand deserves to be seen. On Helen 24/7, we put your business in front of a global audience, anytime, anywhere. From product highlights to full brand features, we help you connect with customers who matter, grow your reach, and boost your visibility. Reach millions across TV, digital, and social media platforms. For more information, you can send us an email or contact us via the numbers on your screen. Partner with Helen 24/7 today, where your brand meets opportunity.
At Ellen 24/7, we bring the news closer to you.
Is failing to protect Christian.
And from Nigeria, we go to Kenya, where President William Ruto.
It was powerful all over the world.
Local and international news.
Every hour, every day.
And the deal was struck.
Here on Ellen 24/7.
The eyes have it.
Let's look at the key drivers.
Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
All right, welcome back. We're still here on the morning show. And on the front burner, we're having a very, very interesting conversation. Now, cancel culture, is that accountability or online bullying? Now, we're having this conversation with Marvel Okpeyemi here in the studio. But I hear from the producer behind the scenes that Austin King has joined us. Austin, welcome to this one. It is going to be a very, very interesting conversation with you. And I know you will have your different opinion on all we're talking about. Austin, you know cancel culture. What's your take?
Good morning, Prince Bill. Yeah, I think for me, cancel culture
All right, I'm finding it
is
difficult to hear
a bit of
Austin.
both worlds.
Hello, Austin.
It's been a tool for accountability, and it's been overly misused and has crossed, has crossed into borderline online bullying. Now, the rise of cancel culture that we're currently seeing, I think, is largely because of ease of access. In the past, you'd not easily get access to, some of the people who the cancel culture has affected adversely or has affected in one way or the other. But with the advent of the social media age, everyone's got a digital footprint, everyone's got digital representation online, and for that reason, I mean, it's too easy, for somebody to speak up, and then you see somebody who is pretty much supposed to even be learning from the person coming out to, dish out instructions or, condemn or, whatever. So I think that ease of access is what has, accelerated cancel culture as we know it today. And, one very easy example that calls to mind, I mean, I was listening to the conversation earlier, when me addressed the Anthony Fauci and, other examples. But one example that readily comes to mind because it's currently ongoing, is the case of JJ Okocha. I mean, on a podcast recently, he spoke about his own views, between who was a better player, between Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. And trust me, since that day, I can guarantee you that Okocha has not drank water and dropped cup. He has been dragged left, right, and center. People giving their own opinion as to what they expected from a legend of his status. What we expected him to say, what we didn't expect him to say, and it almost feels like you don't have the right to own an opinion anymore. Because if your opinion differs from a certain section of people, you are automatically up for, the online bullying, all in the name of cancel culture. And less, like I said, people easily cross that line from demanding accountability to borderline online bullying, and that's where it's a problem. But if it's a question of is it prevalent, is it existing right now in our world, definitely it has become part and parcel of our especially our digital our online and digital community. Cancel culture has become a part and parcel of the community, whereby if you say something that doesn't go well with a particular sector of people, trust me, you are getting dragged.
All right, thank you, Austin. Now, sorry, Marvel.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah, because I hate when I'm
Yeah, Marvel, do you think people on social media sometimes react before they know the full facts of a situation?
Oh yes. People do that. I think it's like I said, it's practical human bias. For example, you like someone, you follow their work, you think that they are an authority over something. They just say something, you hold it as an opinion, you go against everything else that is coming at you without checking the facts. I think it's everywhere. It's what people have done. It's what people would always do. But I think our job on that part will be to educate a few that we can come across to say that you don't have to be so slow to always think like this. You need to also get to hear the other person. But I think it's prevalent. It's something that...
Austin, you need to wade into this one. Now, people on social media, they react. We've seen people react. We've seen situations.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when a young girl, came on social media to talk about something that happened to her in her house.
Yes.
And then we saw some celebrities, they came into it and they had opinions. One of the loudest was Simi. And when it turned out to be false, right now, her online presence has dropped to a point where we no longer see or hear from Simi. And somehow, in recent times, we've not heard her drop any song. It's like Nigerians, they bullied her to the point where she's like, the presence is no longer there. So I would say, Austin, come into this one. Do you think people react on social media before they know the full facts, or do they have a right to just air their opinion because it's a court of social media? Austin, did you get the question?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. My apologies. So like I said, yes, we see this happen one time too many. We see this happen one time too many. Simi, a very good example. That just tells you that when we're talking about cancel culture, you're not looking at, and people have this idea that it's a mindless horde that perpetrates these acts, but it's not. It's it can sometimes be people that are of high repute in the society. So there's almost nobody who is free from it, except you're one who has discernment. You're one who is who has disciplined their outbursts. If you're an emotional type, you'd get into that sort of situation that Simi found herself. Without getting the facts of an issue, you just go on to judge. Never judge a story from one side. I mean, Marvel spoke about that earlier. Never judge a story from just one side. You need to hear the both sides of the stories. You need to be able to hear somebody's story and be able to ask questions. Ask, at this point, at this time, what happened? Do you understand? You asking is you demanding accountability. Do you understand? So you're not doing anything wrong by asking the right questions. But like you said, in Simi's case, she just went on the emotional train. Oh, it was a rape accusation, and she just went off. And more than just going off is the fact that people who get hurt by many of the things you do when you react emotionally like that are, her husband, for example, he had no business in that story. He too got, some of the backlash, with some of the tweets she put out, calling out men and all that, saying, men are rape, many men are rapists. And that's how she, framed the whole thing. But it was unnecessary because she didn't have all of the sides of the story. But still, she went on to make a decision. She went on to make, tons and tons of posts that right now I believe she strongly regrets. And I just hope that, anybody who is out there, who is listening, who is watching, you take that as an example, right? And use that to caution yourself. Whenever you see something, especially online or even if it's offline, right? Even in your daily activities, somebody tells you a story, try to ask questions so that if you're making a decision, you're making a rational decision, not an emotional one. Right? Once you ask questions, you'll be able to find out, all the sides of the story. Even if it's just one person telling the story, you'll be able to figure out at least most of the other side of the story before you then go on to make a decision. And if possible, please always hear the both sides of every story before you go on to, make a judgment, make a decision, go on to counsel somebody. Because you might just be, doing it, and the backlash is you get cancelled, for your actions also.
I was gonna go there, Austin. I'm asking this question to both of you.
Yeah.
What happened to her after?
Yeah.
Now was a very, very good example of cancel culture.
Yeah.
Because people came at her, they dug up old tweets and everything. Now, do you think that was right? Yes. What she did, was an emotional reaction, knowing that she should have, taken her time to gauge the situation and all. But do you think what happened to her after the fact was right? Was it online bullying or was it justified cancel culture or accountability?
Let me say this before I move to the question. I think that we need to understand where people are coming from before we judge them. I'm not an ardent follower of Simi. I really don't pry into things that does not really concern me so much, right? Maybe at some point she was exposed to such thing. Maybe she had had contact to almost being raped or something had happened. I'm not aware. But that might be where she's coming from. There are some things that triggers emotions from you. We are all humans. Let's be factual.
Okay.
Yes, she might have done too much. She might have said too much. But should that take away a means of livelihood, which is a career that she's been building for years? Of course not. So whatever had happened to Simi, or what is happening to Simi right now, I think that whatever is happening to her right now is basically damage control. Maybe from experts to say, you need to lay down low for a while before you come back up and all of that, which is good. I mean, all of that happens always. We see people say something stupid, they get attacked. You lay low for a year or two, then you build PR back. It's all about the game of PR. Let's not lie about ourselves. That industry is about the game of PR. Trust me, when she's ready to drop an album, you're going to see PR again. She's going to ride up on that PR. She's going to do concerts again. Trust me, she's going to. People that has done worse, has done concert. But maybe I should mention a certain Malian record thing that happened. They are releasing songs now. They are getting streams. People are streaming their songs. Yeah, so whatever is happening to Simi right now, I think it's just a game of PR that's happening right. That's what I believe. I might be wrong.
It's PR.
I think it's PR.
Okay.
Whatever is happening right now, I think it's PR.
Okay, I think Austin might have a different opinion. Austin, now, do you think what's happening to her after what she said and did, is justified? Or should she be, somehow given a leeway? Because we know how people came at her. In fact, at some point, there was a document on social media claiming that she was divorced, that her husband was filing divorce against her.
Yes.
People went and dug up tweets that she made when she was 23.
Yes.
People did a whole lot. She was literally forced into silence. Now, is that justified? Yeah, because she did something that some would see as unforgivable, but was that enough to deserve what she got from social media?
So the result of Simi's outburst on social media during the period where they in quotes pretty much is that period for me. I think the only way to look at it is it has to be subjective. Like if anybody who is sitting out there thinks, yes, canceling her was right, it's subjective. I don't think there's an objective, response to this, because on both sides of the divide, you'd probably have a very good reason to say, to earn your argument, right? Now, if you're on the side of, she should have been cancelled, you are very much right. But if you're also on the side of she shouldn't have been cancelled, that means of livelihood shouldn't have been, taken away from her. I mean, she made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We should just find a way to move on from it. You're also very right. And you can, make up an argument for that. But for me, do I personally think that she should have been cancelled? No. However, I think that, for that to have happened, for she not to have been cancelled, or like the dragging to have come down, the cancel culture to have reduced, she should have put, a word out to, own the responsibility of what she said and apologize for it. And then we can now talk about, let's forgive what she said, let's not cancel her. So that space where she left, where she could have taken responsibility of all she said and, the way she behaved during that timeline, is what she missed. And when she missed them, there were times when, people were calling out, some of the inconsistencies in the story that she was, venting about. And she was just doubling down, going on, men are rapists and this and that. So when the truth of the matter now comes out, it's very normal for you to see people to now put that at the backdrop of some of the tweets that she's had way back in the past, which also shows that, if you're to look at them with the lens that we look at tweets nowadays, you'd probably say she molested, some of the kids that were, in her mom's daycare that she was talking about. Do you understand? So many of these things, I think it was largely because she left that window too long. She could have just owned, her words or her thoughts and then taken responsibility for it and apologized, and we can then look at moving on from there. Anybody who is coming to cancel her, you would probably see people say, Shebi, she has apologized. What more do you want from her? Do you want to kill her? All those kind of things. But she didn't, and that left, the room for all of what we've seen so far. So is it justified? No. She had a role, to play, in making all of this blow up the way it did.
Okay, interesting. Because I have a question to ask.
Okay.
From that, because if we look at it, and we say, okay, some people can say it is right to have cancelled her. Mm-hmm. And some would say, okay, it's also not right to have cancelled her. Yeah. Well, what we're literally saying is, when we don't agree with somebody, Marvel, you just hit on something really, really important. Yeah. You said she might have gone through a situation looking close to what happened with the girl. Yeah. And that was the reason why she was very emotional about it. Yeah. And that's why she came out to say what she did. And Austin, you were very right in saying she should have come out to apologize. So are we saying now that when a person doesn't come out to apologize, it's okay to continue cancelling them?
I'm not sure that's what we're saying.
I want to get that. I want to get that. I want us to get that out of the way. Now, Austin said if she should have come out to apologize.
Yeah.
Now, so are we saying if the person decides not to revert, not to come back and apologize, it's okay to continue vilifying them?
Oh, the question is, has Fauci came out to apologize?
Okay, so it's okay to continue.
I mean, no, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying we need to understand that diplomacy and PR plays out almost the same way. Because the father of diplomacy is the father of PR. It's just a change of word. There's something called secret diplomacy. That's how PR came about. So when you understand how PR game is played, you need to understand that sometimes people don't come to apologize for things. They just move ahead with it.
Okay.
It's the way. So I'll say this. There's a way a normal human being would want. What Austin was saying earlier is how an average human being would think. But I'm saying there's another way to play the game. There's another way where social psychology is being worked, where you just die things down, die down for a while, push something else to the people, let them play with that for a long while, then you come out and pay a lot of persons to tweet, to make noise, to do this picky boss about you, and then you're back up.
And you're back up. Okay.
People do that.
We're going to come back to that.
All right.
But talking about this case study, yeah, and a whole lot of situations that we've seen on social media, the next question I have is, should an old comment, tweet, video, or behavior from many years ago be used to judge a person today?
The question would first be something that happened recently to Eric Gugua, where during this around the same that the case was happening and stuff. So Eric put out a video, right? And from the video, people went to pick out an old tweet from his account. It was later we found out that it was not the one that started that account. He bought the account. But that tweet could have put him in trouble. And trust me, I was with Eric one time in a conference where he was telling us the effect of what that tweet did to his life. People were calling to threat his life. Put a threat to his life. It was like that's the highest of bullying, harassing, and that he has ever experienced in his life. So people do that.
Is it right, though? Would you say, because some people will tell you to know a person, you need to know what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
You know, it's a form of looking back, moving forward. You know, so I'm asking now, should their old comments, you spoke about Eric Gugua right now.
Yeah.
Old comments, tweets, video, or behavior from many years ago be used to judge them today?
I think that people's context are important, personally. And sometimes people's context is seen in their words. So you can't take away people from their words. So should you judge people by the things they've put out before? Maybe yes, to a certain point. But can people change? Of course, also yes. Can their context change? I mean, think about it. There was a time I told myself that I would never pay a certain amount for an house rent, in millions. If I had tweeted that, now I know how much I pay for an house rent. If I come back again and I'll tweet something like that, somebody can go and pick out that house rent and say, maybe you said this.
Yes.
But context has changed, bro. So we need to understand that people's context change, and sometimes people don't have the brightness to go back to some of the things that they said before and delete them. So sometimes I think it's a game of where is this person at this time? Are they still supporting this thing? Is this thing still their opinion? Of course, their opinions I've heard back from 10 years ago, 15 years ago that I still hold right now. Okay. It doesn't matter. If you put a gun to my head, that's still my opinion. But are there things I've said 10 years ago that I really do think that maybe they are right? Even now they are still right. But the way I framed it 10 years ago, I would not frame it like that now. So we need to put I'm not sure it's a yes or no answer. I think it's a context thing.
Maybe Austin might have a different opinion. Austin, should an old comment, tweet, video, or behavior from many years ago be used to judge a person today?
Unfair metric to judge a person by, because I mean a whole lot happens, things change, people evolve, people grow. I used to like something in the past, but now I'm a whole lot older. I don't like those things anymore, or I prefer some other things right now. But the time when I liked that thing, I tweeted about it. I was vocal about, my love for that thing. But right now, that's not who I am anymore. So if you judge me by that, you'd be misjudging me today, right? So we should have that leeway to, understand that people grow, people evolve, people change. I think the only time when, that sort of metric can be applied. And I think this is a case where, it's really not a yes and no answer. The only time when that sort of metric can be applied, where, your past is used to judge you now, is if there is consistency. If you've checked the antecedents and you check the presence and you see that in the present, the person is no different from what he said, some 10 years ago, or what he tweeted some 10 years ago, or what he posted some 10 years ago, then yes, of course, since there's that consistency exists, you can go ahead and say, this is who you are a this person, you are a that person. And funny enough, when we're talking about, judging a person by their past, it might not actually always be in a bad light. I mean, you can be a vegetarian and you tweeted about, vegetables, or, consuming, vegan food, right? And you still hold that, opinion right now. So if you're judged by that, I don't think it's an issue. So it's not always a bad thing.
Now, you
judging
tweeted
a
about
person
beef
by their
some years
past.
ago.
Yeah, so you need to understand the context and you need to check the person's antecedents and their presence. If there is no consistency, then you may not hold that person accountable by what they said or did in the past.
Okay, you know why this question popped up? Because most of the people that bank on this cancel culture and online bullying, they use these things as tools.
Yeah.
Today they are looking at the person and maybe they don't have anything to hold on to.
Yeah.
They decide to go back, bring out videos and stuff that the person has done in the past, and then they use these things to push the story, the image, to garner sympathy from more people. Because, okay, look at a case. Let's say somebody decides, oh, today I am I'm in support of I don't know, I'm just picking something random. Then some 20 years ago, you are tweeted not supporting this thing, not being about this. Somebody decides, oh, why are we taking him serious? This is what he said in the past. And they put it up, and before you know what, people that are already supporting him decide to drop their support because they're like, you did this in the past, you said this in the past. I know of so many celebrities that have had all their careers almost tanked by the things they tweeted about in the past. It might have changed now, because there's a CEO, I remember once, he tweeted about something that was bordering on pedophilia, some years ago. And right now, he's not there anymore. He's like, his stock has dropped. Like, the way people see him, the way people listen to him has dropped so far down that it's like it can't be picked up again. And his opinion on things like that might have changed, but
I wanted to say something on that just before you move on, please. I think that to this degree, we all then should be very careful about what we put out. The truth is, there are certain things I would only say in my closed circle right now. And there are things that, I don't really care about it. You need to hear it. You need to hear it. So I'll just tell you. And there are things that I've been saying in my circle for the last 4 years that I only began saying online this year. So I think sometimes we also need to build this ourselves up to see that it's not everything you hold there at some point that you put out. Sometimes, because you know that your perspectives may change, just try to... I think it's just wisdom.
Give yourself a caveat.
It's just
a way
wisdom.
to escape it.
Yeah,
Don't double down
yes.
on some of these things. Give yourself a way to escape it. So that at that point, you can say, oh, look at the way I said it. I knew that my perspective might change. And that is why I tweeted it that way. So we need to be more conscious about things like that. All right, to the next question. Should everyone be given an opportunity to explain themselves before the public calls for them to be cancelled?
I think yes. There should be an opportunity for people to explain themselves, even though sometimes people don't want to explain themselves. Yeah, there are certain times. Let's look at the case we just left, Simi's case. She probably does not see any reason to explain herself. Like I said, PR does these things. So let me say like this. There are ways you think the world works, and there are ways the world actually works. Those are two different perspectives. So you need to understand the world they are playing with at the time. There was this book I was reading sometimes last month. It says that you need to understand yourself, you need to understand your enemy, and you need to also understand the playing field that you are playing at if you want to win the war. So if you understand all of that, you get that sometimes people should always be given an opportunity to explain themselves. However, not all the times do people want to explain themselves. So at that point, then that becomes a dicey one. So what did this person say? What did this person say in response? Okay, we can judge this. Has this person spoken? Has this person been given an opportunity to speak? Did they respond? No. Then you need to begin to say, okay, maybe this matter, we may need to take it up legally so that we can get their opinion. Or is this something all of us can just walk past by and just move along? What is the importance and the effect of it if we walk along this path? If we don't drag this person, does he bring money? Does he dirty somebody else? Did he, I mean, there are some things that does not make sense that we want to cancel people about.
So we should allow them explain themselves.
Yes, most times. Let's just, always actually. I think Yoruba will say, Agbejo enikonda agba oshikani. It means that when you listen to one person, you do not listen to the other person, you are a wicked person. Yeah, so we should always give people opportunity to explain themselves. And not when they explain themselves, they should plead the fifth. We should hold them by the chest when they begin to plead the fifth. Yeah, hold them by the chest.
Austin used to come into this one because Marvel has taken it very personal. He's even brought Yoruba into it. Yeah, so now, should people give the opportunity to explain themselves? Because we see these things happen, especially on social media. We see people come out, make videos. When, let's say, two people have a problem, yeah? One person comes out, make a video, become very, very emotional about it, and before you know it, they garner sympathy. And the whole world and the whole social media just bends towards them. Yeah. Now, the other person has not come out to say anything, to make any video, and they are borderline, they are almost being cancelled. Yeah. Now, should people be allowed to explain themselves, or we don't need that explanation?
The way I look at this, I'll say this. We need to understand that the digital ecosystem, the currency of the digital ecosystem is attention. And how do you buy attention is pretty much like what Marvel had said. PR helps you buy attention, right? So, and there's this thing they say, right? There is nothing like bad publicity. There is no publicity there's no publicity called bad publicity. Every publicity is publicity. If you like, we're trending for the wrong reasons. The most important thing is you're trending. You're the one people are talking about now. That's what matters. That's the currency of the digital ecosystem. Now, if you put that into mind, you then understand that, yes, people should be given the opportunity to explain themselves in certain situations. However, will explaining yourself terminate that currency you are currently spending, which is the attention being, drawn to you or, on a particular subject? In many cases, when you explain yourself, you've just moved the ball from your court to the next person's court. So now you've explained yourself. Now we need to hear from the other person. What is the person's reaction? And then we now judge. So it takes away the attention from you. So many times you see people in social eye, they milk that opportunity, that window of opportunity, to gather as much of the social currency, which is attention, as possible. So they would rather not explain so that you throw all these your ideas. Even in doing that, they probably even see where the minds of people are, so that when they finally explain, especially those who have PR experts, PR strategists in their team, when they finally explain, they've weighed the situation in the digital space, what are people's thoughts and everything, and then they've taken everything into consideration, and then their response is not a genuine response. Their response is a response weighed on the backdrop of everything everybody has said, everybody's emotions and what people expect to hear, and then you just give a response, and then that can salvage the situation, whereas that's probably not how you genuinely feel. So it's not really, funny enough, many of the questions that you've asked today have not really straightforward answers that you just say yes or no. But yeah, this is another one that you can't just say yes or no.
You know why these questions do not really have straightforward answers? Yeah. Because when you look at these things, especially when you look at, some would say, you spoke about Anthony Fauci. Yeah. He should be cancelled. Yes. For everything he's done, he should be cancelled. I agree with that. So that is why the questions are not straightforward, because when you look at cancel culture, there are it was started to hold people accountable for some of the things that they do, especially very powerful people. Now, the reason why we're having this conversation is because we're seeing that it is moving from holding people accountable to becoming online bullying. Yes, yes. It is getting to the point where right now people can just decide to cancel people. Normally, it should be, when somebody does something really wrong, disastrous, like Anthony Fauci, we can say, you know what, this person shouldn't be listened to. This person shouldn't be heard. This person shouldn't even be in office at all. And it is justified. But then, you see people taking it to the streets, taking it to people they do not like.
Yeah.
Because I have about 20 million followers, I can come out to say, you know what, you see Marvel, everybody should stop buying from Marvel. Stop doing business with Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, let Marvel go and all that.
Yeah.
And before you know what, they strip you of everything you need.
Yeah.
So that is why, you guys are going to get more questions that do not have straightforward answers, trust me. Now, when someone makes a genuine apology and changes their behavior, should they be given a second chance?
All right. Now, two things came to mind. There was this conference that held sometimes earlier in the year. It was Audacity Conference by Pastor Olushola. So a lady was talking. It was Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika that was speaking. So a lady came up, said a whole lot of things, and she got corrected on the spot about a few things. She got to ask a question. But later, she was getting dragged online after the conference. Later, she came out, put a tweet out. I think she put a tweet out on her Instagram, something, explaining herself and apologizing, and then people moved past it. I think she later got an opportunity from apologizing. I think. I'm not certain about that. But something happened yesterday.
Mr. Tony Elumelu.
Mr. Tony Elumelu.
Yeah, the young girl coming out saying, good morning, Tony.
My head went, I can call him Tony behind his back.
Yes.
I can say, do you see what Mr. Elumelu did or something? When I say Elumelu, your mind goes only to the red tie man. There's something. But when I face him,
you can't.
My mind,
she actually did.
My mind
and people
bugging.
have been, you know what? I've been seeing tweets online. People talking about how he did that because she's Nigerian. When he goes out to a different country and a young girl calls him Tony, that he doesn't have a problem with it, and the likes and the likes. And we're seeing that go on and on and on. Now, only intellectuals or very smart people see it and say, she shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You know, but some people, and that is like the majority of people on social media, and just come out and say things like, oh, why is he doing it? Why did he have to embarrass her? Oh, why did he? Oh, it's a corporate thing. It's something that we see. It's very normal. In my office, in GT, in this one, it happens. So, there've been that.
Yeah.
So, should...
I want to say this before you even continue. I think that we need to know that most people on social media are very slow. They don't understand how life works. See, when you begin to understand that part, you need to, it will save you from a lot of mental stress. People don't read. People don't learn things. There's a stat that says that 0.01 of the world population read 10 books in a year. 0.01 read 10 books in a year. And there's also another stat that says 0.001 of the CEO read 10 books in a year and finishes 2. People don't know things. If someone that is not a lawyer will just, because you have borrowed data from your network provider and you can download X, you come ahead and say something that has to do with the law. You know nothing about the law. You don't, see, when you begin to understand them, most people that tweet, sometimes some of them are paid. It's not organic. Some of them don't even have an iota of these things. They just know that if my tweets go viral, I can get a paycheck. When you begin to understand these things, it begins to put some things in your head. And it just helps you. But yeah, I think people should have a second chance. For an example, I think that girl should actually apologize, because I think that her career in the corporate world might have been marred by what she did yesterday.
What she did yesterday.
I think, but I didn't think an apology should be said.
Okay, Austin, come back. Austin, come back. Do we still have Austin?
Yeah.
Austin, should people, when someone makes a genuine apology, you've spoken about apology, about Simi and the apology. Now, should they, and they change their behavior, should they be given a second chance?
Yeah, I think, they should earn it. They've done enough to earn a second chance. More than just apology, you also said they go on to make changes in their behavior. I think that should earn a person a second chance. I think that's just it. Because if you don't give second chances, who's to say that you're perfect? All right? You might be found wanting tomorrow. You might have a change of heart from a subject tomorrow. Then if we were to use the same yardstick for you, would you survive? So I think that's the big question. But yeah, I think, people should be given, second chances and all that. But honestly, that example, the Tony Elumelu example, it's funny, man. It's funny.
Very funny. The young girl was like, I don't know what she was doing. But now, this last question before we go.
All right.
Now, who should determine the consequences of a controversial action? The employer, the law, the public, or social media?
Who should determine
the consequences of a controversial action?
I think that the public has a role to play, the employer has a role to play, the government has a role to play, and there's the last one that you
Social media.
Social media also has a role to play. I think that it's a case-by-case thing, personally. Because, for an example, there is this man, I do not think that is, now, this may sound very somehow, and I hope that this will not come as cancel culture for me in the near future. But there's this young man that I do not believe that his growth was organic. He talks about health and health issues online. He makes health content. I do not think that his growth is organic. I do think that his growth came by him sitting with the son of the devil. That is pushing certain agenda all around the world, GMO, vaccines, and all of those things. I do think that that particular guy is not clean, my opinion. Now, I said that to say this, that when he makes some statement, the question becomes, who should hold him accountable? Is it the government that has also been bought into the same thing that will hold him accountable? Because sometimes the government is bought. The social media guys are paid. Then the content guy now comes down to say something. So the government that's supposed to go against him is already paid. The people that would retweet and do all of that are already paid. The guy is already paid. The last person that is said is probably the other side of the fraction that can hold the person accountable. And there are other instances that the social media guys are slow. They don't even understand the full perspective of what's going on. It's only the government that can step into place and be neutral in that perspective. So I do think it's a case-by-case thing. We cannot say that this person should hold the highest power. No, I do not think. I also do not. Well, this is my personal opinion. I do not think that your government is for you. I do think that they are bought. They are serving a certain community in the international space, because for countries like the country that I'm in now, right now, that they are the jurist state, they are not de facto state, there are certain things that they cannot hold dear to their heart. There's nothing such as their foreign interest. Foreign interest is just personal interest of the people in the political power and stuff. So there's a whole lot of dynamics to that. So I do think it's a case-by-case thing. But yeah.
Okay. Marvel has a whole lot to say, but I wish we had more time, but we do not have more time on the front burner today. But today's discussion reminds us that social media is a powerful tool. It gives people a voice and makes it possible to challenge harmful behavior and demand accountability. That power can certainly be used for positive change. But power also comes with responsibility. There's a difference between criticizing someone and harassing them. There's a difference between demanding accountability and destroying someone's reputation without knowing the full facts. And there's a difference between refusing to excuse harmful behavior and refusing to allow anyone the opportunity to learn and grow. Perhaps the challenge for all of us is to ask an important question before joining an online campaign against someone. Do we have all the facts? Are we seeking accountability or simply punishment? As we continue to live more of our lives online, we must learn how to hold people responsible without losing our sense of fairness, compassion, and humanity. Cancel culture, accountability, or online bullying. The debate continues. Thank you for joining us on this one, Marvel. Thank you for joining us on this one. Austin continues with me on the morning show, and I will move on to News Now. Top of the hour, News Now. We'll be right back.